Hey, how's it going, everyone? Today we're going to talk about domain and range and the two different ways to write it. We got interval notation and set builder notation. Set builder is what the SOL likes to use. You've probably seen that in textbooks a lot more. But interval notation, if you take any classes above this, that's going to be basically the gold standard. So if you take Algebra 2 math analysis, if you ever take math in college, they use intervals. So I'm just going to explain the two real quick. So let's say we've got x is it's in between 5 and 2, right? On a number line, if it was like an inequality, this would be 5, this would be 2, they'd be connected like this. It's open circles because there's no or equal to, right? This is just strictly less than, this is strictly less than. So we've got these open circles right here. If I were to make it or equal to, then we would fill this in. Don't mind my dog acting crazy in the background. And if we made this one or equal to, right, this one would get filled in. We can write the same thing using interval notation. And all you have to do, basically, you just cut out the x, and we're going to use brackets if it's or equal to, right? If we got the little line, we just put a 2 here. And instead of the x, you just put a comma. It looks kind of like a coordinate, but it's not. So the bracket is going to mean that you can touch it. You'll see that in the notes in the document. And the parentheses would be something like this. So if it's going from 2 to 5 here, this would be 2 to 5 like this. And then if I want to fill one of these in, then I would need to change this parenthesis to become a bracket. And we're going to talk about what that looks like on a big graph. So if we got something like this, we're going to do for domain and for range, not just for the domain, not just x values. So if I'm going from, let's say, like -3, -2, I'm going up to, we'll say, 5, 4. The domain, right, that's x values, means I'm just looking from left to right. So you can imagine we got like a dotted line that is going from left to right. It's going to section it off going left to right. So this way, I'm just asking what are the extremes of the x values, basically. So for the domain, it's going to go from -3 to 5. And I can touch those, so it's going to get or equal to. But we could have also just written this with our interval notation as -3 with a bracket, because you can touch it, and it goes up to 5. You can touch it, so it gets a bracket. If these were open circles right here, it would be parentheses instead of a bracket. And if we check out the range, right, range is saying what's the lowest I can go and what's the highest that I can go. Well, the lowest I can go is -2, so my range is going from -2. I can touch it, so it gets the or equal to, and then the highest is going to be up here at 4. That's my highest y value. And if you want to do this in interval notation, it's just -2 to 4, brackets on both sides because you can touch it. So seems easy enough. That's what the worksheet is on, the one that's attached. It's going to have things like this, except if they're closed on the worksheet, it's going to look like a box, like a square. And if it's open, it's going to be clearly open like this. So you'll see what I'm talking about. For the IXL, it's going to have problems like this. And this time, my domain is going to be everything, right? It's going all the way to the left. It's going all the way to the right. And my range is going all the way down, but it has a peak. It's got a maximum value right here. So we'll call this 1, 3. So if I'm looking at the domain, it's either going to be all real. You can just write all real. It could be that x goes from -infinity to positive infinity, or you could write it like this with interval notation. It goes from -infinity to positive infinity, and if you have infinity, it's always going to have parentheses. Never going to put brackets on parentheses infinity because you can't touch it. Right? If you can't touch it, then it gets a parenthesis. If you can touch it, then it's going to get a bracket. So more interesting, let's look at the range. this is as high as I can go, but I can go all the way down. This is going to keep going down forever. So my range, we're going from lowest to highest, remember. The lowest would be low, 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 low. The lowest, right? It's going to keep going down forever, all the way to negative infinity. We're working with y this time, and it's going to go all the way up until it hits this y value right here, which is going to be 3. And we can touch it because it is solid. They might just write it like this without the infinity. But if you're using interval notation, you need to denote that we start all the way at the bottom at negative infinity, and we go until we get until y equals 3. That's as high as I can go. And since we can touch it, it gets a bracket. So that's everything on the IXL on the worksheet. Good luck. Send me an email if you got any questions. Make sure you got that test turned in, and I will see y'all in the next video. Adios. Bye.